Okay, so from circular flow model, we know that the three methods, they are basically the same. Okay, so technically or theoretically, they can come up with the same number. All right, but in the reality, I just want to tell you, it's not always the case because we are using different data sources, and that's why when you look at the output method in one country in a specific year, and when you look at the other methods, they might have some differences. Okay, because different methods, they might use different sources, and different sources, they have some discrepancies. Okay, all right. So even though they are equivalent, but you need to have your expectation when you are really looking at the data in the real life. They might not be the same. All right, yeah. So very logical here, right? Yeah. So don't worry when you see the datas, they are not the same. Yeah, don't freak out because that's what it is. Okay, yeah. Different people, they use different data for the calculation. Yeah. All right. So it was very good that one of you guys, I think Robin, you asked last time, like how do countries define the data, and I think you guys have a very good sense about this. Some people you talk about like financial reports, some people you talk about taxes. Okay, so here is something special here, a question for you. So there are actually some problems when we are trying to measure GDP, because now we know where we can find the data. Okay, so what do you think the problems when we're trying to measure GDP? So it can be from taxes, right? Financial report. Okay, but what would be the problem? Yeah, when we're trying to measure GDP, if we are solely relying on like taxes, illegal stuff. Okay, that isn't reported. It's not calculated. Okay, some make a financial report. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, just common sense. Okay, yeah, you all get that idea. All right. So that's why even though every year different countries they have their GDP, and we know that GDP is all about output. Okay, but there are some output that we couldn't calculate them accurately. Okay, just like Matthew mentioned, illegal stuff, right? Or maybe the data is not really accurate. Okay, and that's why we cannot measure GDP like 100% correctly. Okay, so that's the problem. Okay, some of the output, they cannot be recorded. Okay, so you guys are very good. Yeah, and like legal hawkers selling goods in the street. Yeah, usually for those people, they will not pay taxes. Okay, yeah, they will not file taxes. Yeah, they're just running some illegal businesses. Okay, yeah. So for the government, they don't have the data for them. So you never know like how much they're selling every year, how much they're earning every year. Okay, so yeah, for some extent, GDP, the measurement is not perfect. Okay, so what about some other illegal business activities that you guys can give me? Aiden, can you give me one? Just give me one illegal business activity that you can think of. Yeah, just put that in the chat. Yes, let's see how. Yeah, let's see how many illegal business activity that we can come up with. Okay, drugs. Yeah, right. Drug dealings. Okay. Yeah. Well, obviously you're not gonna put it in the taxes. What are you gonna write? Drug dealings. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure the next day the police will come to you and arrest you immediately. So what about you, Alex? Any more illegal business that you can tell me besides dealing drugs? Come on, I'm pretty sure you guys have some ideas about doing some illegal stuff. Smuggling. Yeah, right. Smuggling is also a kind of business. Okay, so you see here, GDP is all about output. It's all about whatever makes you money. Okay, so smuggling is well, economics. It's all about assumption, Matthew. So yeah, that's what economics is all about. We're trying to yeah, piracy. Okay, Mary. Yeah, that's very good. Yeah, selling pirate DVD and stuff. Okay, but that's very good. What about Allison? What else can you tell about us? Like illegal business activity besides dealing drugs, smuggling, selling pirate DVD. Come on, just give me more illegal stuff that people would do in the underworld. Uh, any or theft? Okay, but wait, theft, fake IDs. Oh, okay. Oh, that's a lot of ideas over there. Well, Edison is okay. Yeah, it's good to not know so many illegal activities. Okay, because as a good citizen, we shouldn't. We shouldn't consider too many illegal activities in our lives. Girlfriends as a service, but that's very true. Okay, yeah, that's very true, right? Yeah, I mean, you all have some very good ideas. What about Annabelle? Can you give me some more ideas right here besides the ideas that are in the chat? Give me just one more illegal business activity that we don't have. Okay, bribery. Yeah, maybe that's also okay, right? What about Ava? Yeah, any? Oh, okay. Yeah. Like illegal hawker. Yeah, human trafficking. All right. Yeah, I think we have enough for the illegal business activity. So you see, look, based on all the examples that you gave me, you know how much we have underestimated GDP. Okay. Yeah, there are so many businesses out there. If they are running businesses, okay, even prostitution. Okay. Yeah, but they are illegal. All right. So, you know, and that's why. Look, that's the problem. Okay. Yeah. So you get it. You get this point here. Yeah. So usually we call that sector. We have a name for it. Okay. Usually we call that informal sector. Okay. All right. Yeah. So for all those illegal activities, we call that. We just put that into this category, informal sector. Cool. Okay. So no tax declaration, is just equal to no record. No record. Yeah, we cannot measure all those activities into GDP. Okay. So GDP could be underestimated. All right. Okay, Julian. Yeah. Right. Any questions? Okay. All right. So you now see why GDP is not perfect. Yeah, may not be perfect. Okay, so money laundries. Oh, okay, yeah, I think I'll take a look of that later. Okay, but when you talk about informal sector, if you are not really focusing on all those very illegal businesses, so this is how we define informal sector. Okay, so basically all those activities, they are operating outside the official recognition. Okay, yeah, that's why they don't pay taxes, right? And usually they are low pay, little benefits. You don't have like MPF, you don't have pensions, etc. etc. You have a low job security. Okay, from those jobs, right? Just think about some examples. Okay, and you will see. Okay, and they are not recorded as tax, right? Well, I think you guys have given me enough examples. So here I'm just gonna give you some more, but they are like more normal businesses, but usually they are also in the informal sector, like shoe shiners. Okay, yeah, they're not gonna file taxes, right? They just work on the street and help people shining their shoes. I don't see we still have it like in Hong Kong anymore. Do you guys find that in Hong Kong, like any shoe shiners? Oh, Matthew, you found that? Like where? I haven't seen those people for so many years. Oh, okay. I don't know where you saw them, but okay, I'm just gonna trust you. Okay. But for the watch repair in the street, yeah, I still see them. Okay. Yeah, but they just find themselves a corner and then they help people fix their watch. You know. Yeah. So that is also yeah, not in the record, not in the tax record. Yeah, we have. Okay. Oh, really? Okay. Admission? What kind of mission? Oh, CS. All right. Did you find it? So you found it. So you found. Oh, really? Well, I mean that like what kind of CS was that? You just find people to shine your shoes. How does it help? I mean, we're helping the no. Okay, well, I mean, yeah. It's. I mean, thank you for sharing. I guess I think that was a pretty uh, interesting. Okay, so now I know a little bit more about what you do in CS. So maybe next time you're gonna do something else, like the examples that you did in the chat. Yeah, because they are all in the informal sector. Okay, so hopefully you're not gonna do that. All right. So yeah, so there you go. Informal sector, simple. Okay, cool. Oh, true, Robin. True. Yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's move on. All right. Okay. So here, yeah, it's just another picture of our world, and you know what? There are mainly two ways to see GDP. So now you know one of them. So GDP. Okay. And can you tell me another one? Another one to see GDP. So there are mainly two interpretation in terms of GDP. Do you know the other interpretation? Yeah, so now you know GDP as a total. So there should be another one for interpretation. Any ideas? Oh, Ethan, per capita. That's it. Okay. So you see here, people or different countries, they always use these two interpretation to see GDP. Okay. They see it as a total, or they see it, here using this formula here. All right. So we call that GDP per capita or per head, but usually, you would say it per capita. All right. So it's very simple when you look at the formula. Okay. You're just using the total GDP over the total population of the country. So what we are trying to see from this formula, can someone just quickly explain? So if we are using this formula here, what are we looking at? Okay, average income. Yeah, Julian, thank you. Right? When you're using the total GDP, you over the total population. So you know in average how much people they are earning per person. Okay? All right? So when you look at the picture here, well, you see, look, when it comes to total GDP, which country is the champion? When it comes to total GDP, which country has the highest GDP right now? Any ideas? No, don't look at this. This is for GDP per capita. I'm talking about total GDP. Which country has the highest GDP? Yeah, US. What about the second place? Yeah, China. Exactly. What about the third place? No, 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 no. It is quite close to China. Oh, Japan. Yeah, Japan. Okay. So US, China, Japan. What about the fourth place? Yeah, give it a guess. Well, is in Europe, but it's not France. Okay, Germany. All right, there you go. Yes. Okay, so roughly yeah. What are the highest GDP countries in the world right now? Okay, all right. But when you look at this picture is describing GDP per capita. So you see here, for this color, when you look at US, well, I guess it makes sense. Okay, because US has the highest GDP. But when you look at the second highest GDP, China, is in this color. So it's like a few levels lower than what the US has. Okay? So, from here we can see, even though when we look at total GDP, US and China, they are not so different. But when we look at GDP per capita, they are completely different. Okay? Right? Because, in China, we have like, how many people? How many people in China? What's the population in China? A lot. Yeah, like how many? Come on, no one can Answer me, yeah, immediately. Yeah, 1.3, 1.4. Yeah, 1.4 billion people in China, and in U.S., yeah, it's way, way smaller population. So you see, okay, look, just because you have a high, like a very high GDP, doesn't mean that you are a king. Okay, so many people, they have this misunderstanding. They're always, trying to flex, like, yeah, China, we have like the second highest GDP, blah blah blah. But you know what? When it comes to per capita, you look like crap. Okay, right? So that's the problem. All right, you know what I mean. All right, yeah. So yeah, so here, can you just give me one idea? So if we're using GDP per capita, there is still some possible bias, okay, of this measurement. Like, what kind of bias can you see from GDP per capita? Even though now we are looking at the average GDP per person, but there is still some possible bias. Oh, okay, child and elderly population. All right, yeah, okay. So even though we are looking at the average GDP, we cannot look at the GDP from different, population groups. Okay, and that's how we see bias. Okay, all right. Yeah, just because in general, when you see a country with very high GDP per capita, doesn't mean that in average people they are living a good life. Okay, all right, because we have something we call that income inequality, right? Yeah. So for some people, yeah, maybe in some country only 10% of the people, they own 90% of the total income, right? If that's the case, yeah, maybe when you see the GDP is still very high, but yeah, for the 90% of the population, they are living a tough life. Okay, even though in average, you can see people, they have a high GDP per capita, but if the income inequality is really bad, like this, okay, it doesn't justify like how good your country is. All right, yeah, okay. So let's say in Hong Kong, Hong Kong is a very good example. When you really go into the details and see like how big the income inequality in Hong Kong. Yeah, it's really bad. It's like like most of the GDP is contributed by Mr. Lee. Okay, and that's it. Okay, even though we have a high GDP, yeah, around the world, but yeah, the rest of the people, they are all suffering. Yeah, including me and you. Yeah, possibly. Okay, right. So yeah, so you see here, this is one thing that we have to consider as well. Okay, don't just look at the figure. Okay, you need to go even further and see if that figure is objective or not. All right. Okay. So yeah. So there you go. All right. So now we know two kinds of GDP that we can see: GDP in total, GDP per capita, and they all have their focus. All right. So for total GDP, you can see the overall economic performance. Yeah. Right. And for GDP per capita, you can see the average people, like how good they are in terms of economic performance. Okay. But they all have biases. Okay. They all have biases. Okay. All right. So this is how you can evaluate, right? Like the benefit of using GDP or the benefit of using GDP per capita, or the limitation of using one of them. Okay, all right. Cool. Okay, yeah. So things are getting more straightforward now. Okay, so let's go ahead and learn some more. Yeah, learn some more. Let's go learn some more terms. Okay, I'm just gonna show you different terms. And look, when we talk about GDP, they have different terms. Okay, so we have something we call that nominal GDP. Okay, so here, okay, when we talk about nominal GDP, we talk about GDP considering the inflation as well. Okay, all right. Even though we haven't learned the topic of inflation, but now I just want you to have this idea. Okay, when you talk about nominal GDP, it's also including inflation in it, and it can be misleading. So whenever you are looking at GDP, you should not look at nominal GDP. You should look at another type of GDP that I'll talk about it very soon. Okay, so I'm just going to show you an example why nominal GDP can be very misleading. Okay, so here, take a look at this. If in year one, in country A, I guess, the GDP is $1,000, and in year two, GDP is $2,000. All right, given the information that the inflation in year two is 100%. What does it mean? Okay, Robin, yeah, that's quick. It means there's no increase in GDP at all. The reason why it means that you are still producing the same amount of output in year two, even though you see the GDP is increasing, but the increase is only because of the inflation of all the goods and services. Okay, so maybe if your country is only producing bananas, okay, yeah, it's only because the price of the bananas they are getting higher. Okay, it's not because you are producing more bananas. All right, yeah. So if that is the case, nominal GDP, when you look at nominal GDP, you will be, okay, misled. All right, yeah. So that's why it's misleading, so misleading. Okay, so when we are looking at GDP, obviously, we need to exclude the factor of inflation. Otherwise, yeah, this number here is not objective at all. Okay, it's not objective at all. You cannot really see how good the country is performing economically because this inflation is blocking, in the way. All right, yeah. So that's why we should look at another one, which we call that real. Okay, so this is real. All right, so this is how you remember the terms. So of course you are going to look at something real, and when you look at real GDP, is excluding inflation. So if you are looking at real GDP, so in the second year when you look at GDP, it will show you 1,000 as well. Okay, because it's excluding inflation. So from there, okay, our country is not producing more this year, so there's no economic growth in our country in year two, actually. Okay. Any questions for nominal GDP and real GDP here? Does it make sense to you? Cool. Yeah, simple enough. Good. Okay. So why does nominal exist? Well, the reason why nominal GDP exists, so people they can really compare GDP with inflation and GDP without inflation to see like how big the impact from inflation is, because inflation is also part of the government objectives that we will be learning. Okay, yeah, that's why I told you inflation is going to be a big topic as well. Yeah, so before we get there, I'm not going to talk too much about inflation, but you are going to expect it. You are going to expect learning a lot about inflation in the later chapter. Yeah, it's not an easy chapter, inflation. Sometimes it's getting technical, like GDP, like when you are trying to calculate GDP. But yeah, we will make it as simple as possible. All right, yeah, cool. So yeah, so there you go. So whenever you're looking at GDP, look at real GDP. Okay, you can look at real total GDP. You can look at real GDP per capita. Okay, but you should always look at real GDP. Okay. Cool. Okay. All right. So here, I think I'm just gonna give you some reminder about what you should study when it comes to macroeconomics. All right. So here, let's use economic growth as an example. All right. So we know that when the total output is increasing, that's economic growth. Okay, right? So the GDP, when the number is growing up, you know the output is growing as well. So that's economic growth. So whenever you see questions for macroeconomics, you should always think about some stakeholders in order to do your brainstorming. Okay, so always use the following three stakeholders to construct some meaningful analysis and evaluation when it comes to different macroeconomics factor. Okay, so like economic growth or inflation or unemployment, right? Yeah, we'll talk about them later. But this is the structure. Okay, this is the thinking structure that you should have. All right, so here's trying to give you some hints when you are studying economics. Always use this structure. So, consumers, producers, government, just like your circular flow model. Okay, yeah. So when you are thinking all those stakeholders, make sure for each stakeholder, look, find some items that you can discuss. So if something is happening, let's say if economic growth is happening, what will happen to the consumers in terms of income? What will happen to the consumers in terms of spending? What will happen to the livelihood? Yeah, etc. etc. Okay, or when you see the economy is having a recession, so it's basically the opposite of economic growth. So what will happen to the consumers in terms of all those items? All right. So this one will help you answer questions easily. Okay, as long as you know the relationships between the three stakeholders and some items that you can talk about. In different stakeholders. Like for businesses, when you have economic growth, like what kind of opportunities that you can have. Okay, yeah, what kind of business performance that you will positively see. Okay, yeah, for businesses, easy. Okay, and for government, yeah, if there's economic growth, what will happen to the revenue, possibly, and what will happen to government expenditure, as the result. Okay, so if you are able to answer all those questions, okay, when you are applying different macroeconomic factors, then you will be just fine in this macroeconomics. Okay, all right, yeah. So always follow this. Always follow this when you are thinking. Okay, in macroeconomics. All right, cool. Any questions regarding this thinking structure here? All right, yeah, I know it's kind of like a spoon feeding, but in case you don't know how to construct some analysis or the way to discuss things in macroeconomics, yeah, here you go. Here are the hints. All right, yeah. So make sure you utilize the structure, okay, and you'll be just fine. Cool. Okay. All right. So I guess I'll move on. Yeah. Okay. So far, we have learned about informal sector, right? Yeah, for today. Yeah, informal sector. We have learned about GDP per capita, right? And we learned about nominal GDP and real GDP, the difference between them. Okay, so yeah, these are the four things that we have learned so far. Okay, so now we are going to talk about something that we have learned in the very beginning. Okay, and it has something to do with economic growth, right? So let's talk about PPC. All right, a PPC. Okay, so talking about PPC, there are different meanings, in just one PPC model. So, do you still remember? If you are, if the point is inside this PPC, what do we call it? Yeah, if the point is just inside this curve, any point like inside a curve, what do you call it? Okay, yeah, inefficient. What does it mean by that? So if I am producing my output inside a curve, what does it mean? Okay, not using resources to its max output. Resources are not used well. Okay, uneconomic use of resources. Okay, they are all very good answers. That's good. That's very good. All right, so yeah, very nice, guys. What about if the point is anywhere along this curve? What do we call it? Yeah, efficient. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so any point inside the curve, inefficient. Any point along the curve, efficient. Right. So efficient. I guess I'm just going to adjust the answers that you gave me. So the resources are being used efficiently. So no resource is being wasted. That's why if the point is along the curve, you are utilizing all the resources in the maximum capacity without any waste. Okay, yeah, cool. Right? But what about any point outside the curve? What do you call it? Any point outside this curve. Okay, impossible or cannot be produced. That's very good. Or you can use unattainable. Okay, yeah, because the PPC is basically your potential possibility, output. Okay, so in your country, that is the maximum output that you can make for all goods and services. Okay, it doesn't matter if it's consumer goods or capital goods, right? So that is the case. Okay, but very soon you will know in any country, it is just so difficult to put yourself along the curve. Yeah. Do you have any ideas like why it is so impossible for any country to put the point along the curve? Any ideas like why it is kind of impossible? Too many population. Something must be wasted in the process of production. Yeah, could be. Yeah, in the reality, not all production is being produced efficiently, and when you look at different countries, you will see there are always people being unemployed. Yeah, we will talk about that in detail when we get to unemployment. Okay, but here I'm just gonna give you some introduction. Okay, so some people, they will be always unemployed. Okay, and that's why it's basically impossible for any country to put themselves along this curve. All right. Okay, so this is the reality. So in the reality, when you're drawing PPC, that point is always inside the curve. Okay, all right, yeah. So enough for the revision, I guess. So let's get to the part where we are going to use PPC in detail to show economic growth. All right, okay. So so you can see we have some terms here. Actual growth. So it happens when the point is moving towards the curve, which makes sense, right? So when you're moving from A to B, both goods, they are being produced more, so more output. So you see actual growth, right? Yeah, so that's simple. Cool. So because more goods are being produced. Okay, so more people, they're spending on things, right? More things are being produced. So that's exactly how we calculate GDP. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, so when output increases in the economy, what do we call it? Quickly, quick. Type it. When output increases in the economy, what do we call it? Come on. 2 words. Economic growth. Yeah, that's all. All right? Yeah, that's the topic. Okay, there you go. Okay? Yeah. So, what is the most essential element, do you think, that will create a higher output in an economy? What will make people produce more? What will make people produce? Yeah, more demand. Exactly. Okay, thank you, Matthew. All right. Yeah, why would you produce more? Because more people, they want your stuff, right? Yeah, people, they want more goods and services, and that's why other firms, they produce more. All right, and that's why demand is so important for actual growth here. All right, yeah. So yeah, Aiden is also correct about this. Okay, when you are willing to invest money, well, basically investing money is also a kind of demand because you're demanding for some investing tools like machines, technologies, and stuff, right? You're demanding something. Okay, so time to learn a new word. Okay, new terminology. We call that aggregate demand. So basically, aggregate demand. What is aggregate demand? It's just the total demand of everything. Okay, when we learned microeconomics, we know demand. Demand is just the demand for one particular good or service. But aggregate demand, AD, is basically the demand for everything in that country altogether. Okay, so when you talk about macroeconomics, make sure you don't write the word demand for any macro questions. It has to be aggregate demand because, once again, macroeconomics is about the economy as a whole. All right, so you should not use demand. You should use aggregate demand. Okay, AD. All right, cool. Okay, so now I'll show you one more thing that is interesting, maybe, to you. AD increases when these components increase. Okay, because when you think about this, look, expenditure method is just basically different people, they are demanding different goods and services. Okay, so when you're using this logic, whatever component they are demanding goods and services, the equation, the number will be getting bigger. Okay, so GDP will get higher, right? When consumers see they are demanding more goods and services, okay, so this component will go up. When investors, firms, they put more investment, that part will go up. Yeah, government, they are demanding something else, yeah, etc., etc. Okay, when people overseas, they are buying goods from your country, right? The demand for the goods and services in your country is getting higher, so AD will increase. Okay, so make sure you have this linkage with you. All right, yeah, so that's why it makes sense. Okay, expenditure method. Cool. Okay, so yeah, so let's go even further. Okay, so well, you see that, so now we know how we can move the actual growth from one point to the other. But very soon, the closer we get to the curve here, okay, eventually when we get to this curve, it will stop, right? Because this curve here is basically like a boundary, okay? So you will not be able to cross, yeah, beyond this boundary, okay? So what can we do to achieve more growth then? What can we do? If that is the case, we are getting to the boundary. Okay, more resources, better technology. All right, that is very good. Good ideas. Okay, so you see, this is the idea that we need to have. So in order to have further growth, we need to come up with some more resources, right? Otherwise, because here, this boundary here is just showing like how much resources that you can possibly have. Okay, so in order to move beyond this curve, you just have to find more resources. Okay, and or if you are able to make things more efficiently, that is also feasible in order to make you outside of this boundary. Okay, so with that being said, look, if you are able to do that, okay, there should be an increase in production possibilities. So that is what we mean a shift of your PPC. Okay, if you are able to, do what Matthew said, if you can find more resources, if you can make things better or more efficient, that's how you can do it. So I'm just going to paraphrase the answers from Matthew. These are the key terms that we are looking for in order to see further growth. If you can increase the quantity of resources, so the resources here I'm talking about factors of production, land, labor, capital, entrepreneurs. Okay, all right, cool. Factors of productions, or the quality of resources. So quality, that is just better technology that Matthew mentioned. Okay, quantity, just more resources, mentioned by Matthew. So if you're using these two concepts here, then you know how a country can have a further growth. Okay, yeah. So how this is how they do it. Okay, you are trying to increase the production possibilities. Okay, possibilities. All right, you're trying to further expand this curve so that the actual growth can even move further. Okay, so without expanding this boundary, you can only go up to here. Okay, yeah, anywhere along this curve. But if you're able to expand this boundary, okay, yeah, outwards, so this point can move further outside of the original boundary. Okay, all right, so that's what the logic is over here. Okay, and here I'm just going to give you one question to see, to make you understand even more how this PPC works. So take a look at this. Well, it's just an assumption once again. All right, yeah, it's not the reality. All right, but as a question, we just have to assume something that has happened. So assume the economy in Hong Kong is at point B. Okay, so that is the economy of Hong Kong right now at point B. Pretty good, yeah, quite close to the PPC curve. Yeah, the PPC. Okay, so assume we suddenly found an oil reserve underlying mountain. Okay, so if that is the case, how do you draw your PPC? Suddenly you found an oil reserve. Yeah, there's an outward shift because of what reason? One or two? No, I'm talking about just here. Yeah, more resources. So the quantity of resources in the economy is increased. And yeah, that just fits the criteria here. Okay, so we will see a shift in PPC because of that. Clear? Okay, yeah. So it's going to look like, a shift like this. There's one more question. What if the new reserve remains unexploited? The question is, which point would the economy be situated? Would it be point B or point C? Point B, exactly. Okay, all right, so here is the tricky point. Okay, just because your boundary is being expanded doesn't mean that your actual growth will move along with it. Okay, all right, because now the possibility is being expanded, but you haven't really utilized those new resources yet. So your actual growth is still going to be stuck in point B. All right, until you utilize the reserve for production, for energy and all other business stuff. Okay, until then, you will still be stuck at point B. All right, make sense? Yeah, cool. So yeah, point B. Okay, so there you go. Look at this. Production possibilities did increase due to the increase in quantity of resources. but the actual output did not increase due to no utilization of the new resources. Okay, so the actual growth will actually move, okay, outwards when there are more output. But if you are just finding new resources, if you are just discovering new technologies without utilizing those technologies, there should not be any actual growth. Okay, all right. So that's how we see PPC in more detail. Okay. Any questions? Questions? Does it make sense? Cool. Okay. All right. Yeah. It seems like we have learned a lot today. Yeah, we learned a lot today. Right. So right now So since we have learned a lot today, I'm not gonna give you homework. Okay. So yeah, happy, right? Yeah, you guys are gonna have a good weekend. Any yeah. So I guess I'm just gonna well, I don't know. Should I go to this part as well because we still have some time? But this part here is so easy. Okay, so this is basically the last part of the chapter. Okay, talking about some other possible negative impacts from economic growth. So there is one negative impact we already know from economic growth. Do you still remember what that is? Oh yeah, the quiz next week. Yeah, but yeah. So once again, as a reminder, quiz next week. Yeah, so make sure you're prepared for that. Micro, okay, micro, all the micro stuff, right? So that's why I'm not gonna give you homework as well, okay? So you can do some more revision, during the weekend, okay? So yeah, so Julian is right, talking about the negative impacts from economic growth, modern slavery, right? How we exploited the labor. Yeah, that's really bad because of economic growth. Okay? Yeah, we did some discussion, some activities, but there are some more negative impacts because of economic growth. Can you guys give me some more negative impacts, like possible negative impacts because of economic growth? Okay, environmental destruction. Yeah, that's very good. Okay, yeah. So that's one. Any more possible impact? Things are more expensive. Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's you have a good point. Yeah, Bowen. Yeah, higher cost. Yeah, so I guess they are the same point. More tax to pay. This one here not necessarily. Okay, when you're having economic growth, maybe you are paying more taxes. But if if the increase in your income is faster than the increase in taxes, and you would you still be fine. Okay, yeah, but still, yeah, that's a very good idea. Unbalanced income distribution. Yeah, okay. Like companies using new resources. Yeah, that's true. Okay, yeah, so very good. Yeah, so you guys, have some ideas already. So now I'm just gonna show you some pictures, and maybe some of them they are, your answers. What do you think? This kind of negative impact because of technical progress. Yeah, less jobs, right? Replacement of workers, unemployment, right? So there you go. Yeah, better technology. Sometimes it might not be good for different people, right? So people like her losing jobs. Okay, not good. All right. What about this? Economic growth, right? But what kind of negative impact do we have? Okay, give me more. Yeah, demerit goods, overproduction of demerit goods. Okay, right. Yeah, because whenever the output is getting higher, then we have economic growth. Well, gaming. Okay, not suggested. Okay, yes, especially when people they get addicted, to PUBG or Fortnite, yeah, stuff like that. Like yeah, Call of Duty. All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, everyone needs to relax. That's true. Okay. But yeah, this is what I'm trying to say. When we are having economic growth, there are more output, but sometimes people they are not better off with more output. Okay, yeah, when people are consuming more hamburgers, donuts, Coca-Cola, when people are there consuming more guns, okay, when people they are consuming something that is unnecessary in their lives, yeah, like a F1 race car, like what's the point? Okay, yeah, it's not really helping people's life. Yeah, it's just yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, yeah, like caviar, right, etc., etc. Well, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay, yeah, just because you have more output doesn't mean that those higher output they are helping to improve your lives or yeah, essential lives. Okay, so there's one as well. All right, and what about this? Well, I think you already had that. Yeah, environmental destruction, okay, deforestation, right? And here, yeah, all kinds of pollution, right? When you're extracting oil or mineral, right? Yeah, so there you go. Okay, exploiting resources. Yeah, they are not, they're not renewable, resources. Okay, right? So yeah, here's another point that you can talk about when you just keep using resources. Yeah, okay? Keep chopping trees, keep extracting oil, okay? You know, yeah, right? Common sense. Okay, so economic growth, you need to find a way that is sustainable. Otherwise, yeah, the negative impacts are going to be way bigger than the possible, the positive impacts. Okay, this one, yeah, you guys talk about pollution, right? Like, water pollution and air pollution, yeah, the light pollution, the noise pollution, yeah, you name it. Okay, the pollution is affecting the marine lives. Yeah, whatever that you have, I think you have learned something from geography, yeah, or maybe GP already. So yeah, sometimes you can actually use those points into something like that as well. Okay, all right, yeah, more pollution, more output, more pollution. Okay, and people they are always focusing on profit, and that's why they don't care. Okay, when they don't care, yeah, this is what happens. Okay, yeah, that's why our world is suffering. Yeah, like every day this year in the summer, every day when I look at the mobile phone, the temperature is like over 35 degrees in Hong Kong. It's like every year is getting hotter and hotter. Yeah, 35 degrees. What is happening? Yeah, like 2 years ago when I went to Dubai, it was like 45 degrees. It was crazy. Yeah, you were like living in an oven. Yeah, it was so hot. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure very soon we will experience the same thing in Hong Kong. Yeah, which is bad. Okay, all right. So if we are not doing something about sustainability from now on, the world is dead. Well, yeah. But you know what? I think it is already irreversible. Okay, is already irreversible. Yeah, yeah. I think it's too late. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah. So that's all for today. I think. Okay. I know. Lots of contents, but it's very good that we have finished the entire chapter. All right. So maybe in the next lesson, like after the test, yeah, I think we'll be doing the test first, or we'll be doing the test later. I forgot. Yeah, but I think I'll make some maybe Kahoot for you guys. To play with for this chapter. Yeah. Okay. All right. So until then, I'll see you guys next week. All right. Okay. Enjoy your weekend. Do some revision. Okay. Don't screw up the test. All right. See you guys. Bye bye. Bye. All right. Bye.